God damn it.
I was like, I'm going to let her finish, but I do not think we're recording. So,
okay. So we were just talking about our business, which is super boring. And now we're going to consolidate the business because we've already talked about it, but you just didn't get to hear it.
yeah.
Here's the cliff notes on our business.
Cliff notes on our business.
That we've already discussed that you didn't get to hear. The cliff notes on our business is we have had people reach out about advertising. Jen has put together some materials that talk about us and our listeners and pricing options. We're super cheap. So if you want us to talk about your wedding or travel related business or event coming up, please reach out. We'll put you in touch with Jen and she can share that information with you. We are still trying to figure out how we're going to do it.
Then we had a little funny part because we talked about, okay, if you listen to the show, Marco dressed up like an egg the other day and he's sponsored by an egg company. So go watch his video because it's amazing. Yes. And then also we said, Megan was like, Jen will do whatever. And I was like, yeah. Okay. So anyways, that was business number 1 summary.
Okay. So yes, cliff notes, Jen will do whatever for advertising. Yes. And the second cliff note is our trip coming up on November 30th. We have changed locations. We are now going to Ocho Rios, Jamaica, because we figured out that the pricing went down at that resort. So it's a little bit less expensive over there. And I think the resort is better. So we've switched spots. And the big thing to know is we do not have any rooms on hold. So if you want to go on this trip or if you are at all interested, please reach out. All you have to do is put down $400 and that holds your room. That $400 is fully refundable up until 60 days before we go. So if you are considering this, please reach out, throw down the cheap deposit on the room, and we can get the rest of the details figured out later.
And even though it's a different location, it is still spicy sandals. It'll still be spicy. And if you want a spicy sandal t-shirt, it's $50. Is it not spicy?
No, this one I think is even a little bit more spicy than the last one.
So that's our business. And then I think I was also just expressing to Megan how much I missed her. We've been hanging out. I'm going to tell my story, our story.
Yeah.
But we haven't recorded in a couple of weeks, and we haven't recorded just the two of us in forever.
Right. We have so many people who want to be on the podcast. It's so exciting. But we decided that we needed to do one, just the two of us.
Yes, because it's just nice. It's just nice. It's like going on a date, you know? Okay, so today we are going to talk about planning timelines, meaning not the run of show, like not how the day unfolds, but like the amount of time it takes you from the time you start planning an event till the event starts. And Megan and I are going to kind of talk through some of the pros and cons of like a longer planning timeline and pros and cons of some of shorter planning timeline. And this idea sprung to our mind based on what I just went through.
Yes. But you pulled it off wonderfully.
I did. Okay, so here's the story. So I do corporate events as well, as everybody knows. And I got a call from one of my good friends and a listener. Hi, Morgan. Morgan listens, so I want to say hi to her. And she was like, hey, my brother's company just fired their event planner and they have an event in like 3 weeks. And can I give him your number? And I was like, heck yeah, please. So I get the download, and pretty much all that I walk away from the call with was like, wow, they need me badly. And Dennis Rodman is going to be at this event. So anywho, I'm in. Like, I'm fully in as a child of the 80s and 90s. You know, I'm like here for that. Some Dennis Rodman action. So I get to planning, and so very kindly, Megan volunteered to come out and help me, which was like so nice because this was going to be like, this is a big undertaking. I thought at the time it was going to be a big undertaking until things developed further. But I was like so excited that Megan was coming. So Megan's like, I'm coming. I'm going to help you. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. So I'm planning this event and I fly out to New York for the site visit. And as I'm flying back, I get pinged by the company that I'm working for. And they're like, oh, also, by the way, can you plan 3 days of VIP experiential events in the next 6 days? And I was like, sure, so like externally I was saying sure. And internally I was like, what the fuck? Like, how can I do this?
Well, I was just thinking, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Why am I only getting 6 days lead time?
So it's in an industry where I think this is pretty common. I would say corporate is some segments of that market. It's way different than weddings. Okay. Like even if you have a short planning timeline for a wedding, it's never going to be, well, I'm sure weddings have been planned in a week, but it's rarely that.
Right. Not big weddings. It's like the Taco Bell wedding out in Las Vegas.
Totally. But, when I was being asked about this, I thought of something I heard you say once, like years ago. You were like, I could plan a wedding in a day. You said that once. And you were right. You could.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody was like, here's my money, and then you were like, sure.
Yeah.
It could be done in a day. Not like executed in a day, but like planned.
Yeah, I think that it just comes down to having to rely on other people to approve decisions. That's the hardest part. Most of the time, if somebody just handed me their money and said, I need a wedding planned, I could reach out to my list of contacts and easily have it planned in a very short amount of time.
Yes. And I learned a lot from this experience because you're right. Like it is about who's signing off on things. And initially, when I started, like, I'm like, sure, I can plan this 3-day experience. I thought I was the decision maker. There was another decision maker and we were having some issues, but once they finally came around, and we kind of got each other, every contracts were signed, but it was crazy. Like going into the first event, we were still waiting on some contracts and payments to go out, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it. I killed it. I'm totally going to brag because I deserve it because I worked my ass off and, attendees were coming up and asking me, if I planned it. And they were like, this is the best industry experience I've ever had. Like totally killed it.
Awesome.
So then Megan comes in for the original event that we were going to do. And she's like, okay, what? And I was like, it's fine. Like, I'm like, oh, you have nothing to worry about. This is nothing now compared to what I just had to do, But it was such a great cap to that experience because you were there. My friend Rocio came out to help. Dennis Rodman is a lovely, lovely gentleman.
I agree. I thought he was very, very nice.
Yes.
Yes. He was very nice. You can tell that he's done a lot of these events before, and he was surprisingly well-spoken for the interview.
Big time. But he was like just a sweet, gentle giant. And I became his emotional support human.
Mm-hmm.
And that I like that. I like to be needed.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be needed in that capacity. So it was great. I was like, you guys, Dennis needs me.
It's good to know those things about yourself, right? To know that you like to be needed.
Yes. I knew I never wanted to be a mother myself of actual children, but I do like to mother my clients and mother Dennis Rodman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what got us thinking about this topic.
Right. More towards weddings. And you suggested that we talk about it. And I started thinking more about it. And I'm like, I have a lot of opinions on this, but there are opinions where I don't know, this isn't going to really make sense, but like where I ultimately stand on what I think is best. I think there's so many pros and cons for so many different situations that I'm not sure I know what I prefer.
I agree. Well, can you start out by sharing what you remember as your longest planning timeline client and your shortest? Do you remember that?
Yeah. So I think the longest wedding that I've ever planned, the engagement, I think it's 2 years. I don't think I've ever gone past the 2 year mark, but that's butting right up against like 24 months, 22 to 24 months. And then the shortest one that I've ever planned is 3 months. And I'm in the middle of one right now. I did one 2 or 3 years ago. That was 3 months. And I'm doing one now. That's about 3 months.
Yeah, mine I think it's exactly the same, maybe a little bit shorter. I did so my longest has to be over 2 years. I think one of my couples hired me in like 2020. It was one of those where they're like, we're gonna hire you, but we're not gonna, we won't have the wedding until 2023. So I want to say my longest was 2.5 years. And then my shortest was probably, I don't think we even had 3 months. I think because it was probably like 10 weeks.
Wow.
And it was a 3-day, 300-person Indian wedding.
Oh, I kind of remember when you did that.
Yeah. So while we were venue shopping, I was putting together invitations because it was like the minute they signed the contract, we had to hit print on the invites. And for that one, by the way, the groom, it was an arranged marriage, which I thought was like, I learned a lot about arranged marriages. I used to have different thoughts on it, and now I'm like totally into it. I'm like, so if anybody wants to arrange me a marriage, like I'm open to it. Just give me a call. But the groom was in India and his visa wasn't getting approved. His visa got approved like 48 hours before the wedding day. So he first stepped foot on American soil for the first time 24 hours before he got married.
That's not stressful at all.
It was stressful. It was wild because we just kept planning because we're like, what are we, we didn't have the luxury to stop planning. Like, it's like, we just have to go. But I'll never forget, this couple was lovely. And at the end of the last night, I was like bringing their stuff back to their room, and he was in there, and he like helped me. And I was like, wait, so you just like got here yesterday. You've never been to America and now you're married. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's wild. And he said, it is wild. So that was probably my shortest. But okay, in an ideal world, if you were like, I need X number of months to like, what is your ideal planning timeline? I'd say 6 months.
So the only reason why I wouldn't say 6 months is because I feel like up here, a lot of the vendors that I would want to work with might be booked already. I remember when I first started doing weddings. I tell this to people all the time. So when I first started doing weddings,
way back when there wasn't electricity.
Way back when.
I remember when I was
15 years ago almost.
I had to walk uphill both ways. Okay, sorry, keep going.
It feels like an eternity ago.
Okay, so you were saying.
Okay. When I first started doing weddings, venues would not really open their books for booking into the next calendar year, sometimes until about a year out. That was definitely more standard. Now it's 2 years out. And the planning for a wedding is completely dictated by when these couples can book their venue, because as soon as they have their venue, they want to hit the ground running. But what we used to do is I would be executing weddings in the summer, assisting people who would hire me over the summer to find a venue or just secure that like basic stuff also over the summer. And then we would plan their wedding in the off season. It was a really nice cycle. And now, because people book their venues freaking, 5 years in advance, we can get the wedding all planned, and then the winter is pretty much like downtime because people are like, I feel like I should be doing something. It's like, you have nothing to do. We've done it already.
Right.
So that's what kind of annoys me about longer engagements, because the wedding industry gives this illusion to people, I feel like, that weddings are so complicated. And maybe I'm talking myself out of a job right now, but they give this
Yeah.
illusion that weddings are so complicated and they need so much time to plan. And you're going to have 18 months and all you're going to be doing is planning this wedding. And it's like, it's really doesn't take that much time. As if you are a decisive person who knows what you want, you don't need that much time. And so if you have a longer engagement, there are going to be periods where we really do not need to do anything.
Well, but also to talk yourself back into a job, that's because you're doing all of that work for them to be decisive.
Yes.
So you can't just say wedding planning is a lot of work and it does take a lot of time. But when you have somebody who knows what they're doing, who's done the research and the vetting, it is easier for you too.
Yes, that is exactly right.
Yeah. And then they have the confidence to be decisive because you have presented them with their options. So,
well, hopefully that's like, I think the ideal client is somebody who trusts us, right?
right.
Because otherwise what you're doing is overcomplicating things and just spinning your wheels unnecessarily.
Yeah.
I do think that there are clients out there that I work with and I can kind of read this and I let them do it. It's fine. It's part of the process if they want it to be. They want a little bit more of that, like, oh, I want to meet with more people. Like, this is fun to them to like vet people themselves. That's all fine. I probably could have told you in the beginning who is the best choice and who you're going to end up picking. But if you want to spin your wheels a little bit because you think it's fun, like, sure, we can do that too. Like, I'm not going to say don't, because if you think that's a fun part of the process. But as I've been doing this for so long, especially with Milwaukee being a smaller market than Chicago, but I would think you can probably do this too. Once a client explains to you and you get to know them and you know their budget and they tell you what you want, you can pretty much rattle off what you think the best choices are going to be. And you don't need to interview 25,000 people.
No.
You know beforehand who's going to be, what their prices are going to be and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'll say like now, because I only do I'm averaging like 2 weddings a year. I definitely am making sure that I'm working with people who don't want to spin their wheels, right? But that are creative and want to do something different. So
Yeah,
I'm
right.
spinning my wheels a little bit more on the back end because
Sure.
I have the time now to do it. Like now, I can be creative and I'm like, I want to find a different photographer who I haven't worked with because I have a very clear vision of what they need and what I want for them.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like, I mean, I think that goes back to how we're saying, like, you and I could plan a wedding in a day if we are the ones signing off on everything. And I can guarantee our clients would be very happy with exactly who we pick for them.
Yeah. Do you think that when you say your ideal time frame is 6 months, do you think that you would have a hard time finding vendors with a 6-month planning timeline, or down there you feel like there's so much more availability of people that it wouldn't be an issue?
Well, so here's what I'll say again. I think it's always very important to point out that Megan and I work in a specific bracket of budgets.
Mm-hmm.
So money buys you a lot of options. And I have been very lucky that I don't know what it is. Like, it's luck. I think this now, just taking a step back and making a comment. I think success is skill and luck.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I just think that always. It's like knowing what you're doing and having some luck and knowing when to, whatever. Same with planning a wedding. I have had a lot of luck. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm looking for. And like, these short planning timeline situations I've been put in, I have always gotten a team that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone came to me today and was like, hey, we want to get married in 3 months, or a corporate client wants me to do something for them next week, I'm always going to be like, yeah, like we can figure it out,
right.
Because I think that's the luxury too of like just doing this for so long. My network is extensive.
Right.
So I would say, I could put an amazing team together. No problem.
Yeah.
That was me. I'm just blowing my fake guns.
See, that's why we have to be recording this, Jen.
I know. I'm sorry. I look like total dog poop right now, though. So next week I'll dress up. So what are you saying? A year? Is that your ideal for a wedding? You want 1 year?
Yeah, I think a year. I think that would probably be ideal just so I could make sure that I could get things that they want up here, unless we go into it and I say, look, there might be a little bit more limited options. We might not be able to, like, when I talk to people in the beginning, it's kind of like, have you been stalking certain vendors online where you're like, I really want to work with this, three people, or that's going to make a difference, right? Because if
Mhm.
you have people in mind that you want to work with, we've got to kind of work around that. But if you're understanding and you're like, look, I know I want to get married in 6 months and I trust you to help me find people, even though they may not be listed, or somebody I've seen online, that's fine with me. I would do it earlier. The shorter the engagement, the less time that it's still the same amount of work that goes
Yeah.
into it because you're ultimately doing the same amount of stuff. But I prefer a shorter time working with people because 2 years can be exhausting.
It is exhausting. But also like I feel like okay, all right, let's kind of lay out some pros and cons cuz it is exhausting, but here's what I'll pro to that. I develop a much closer relation well, I mean, I develop a close relationship with all my clients. But the longer I'm working with them, like going into the wedding weekend, the less stressful it is because they trust me now literally with their whole entire life.
Yeah.
So I think a pro to a longer engagement for the relationship with your vendors or at least your planner is there's just more time for trust to build, and I think it just makes the going into the wedding weekend easier.
Yeah, I'll agree as long as your client is somebody that you enjoy working with that entire time. If your client ends up being heinous, then you're stuck with them for 2 years.
Oh yeah. Unless you fire them.
How many clients have you fired?
I don't play around anymore. Um I have only fired one client and I threatened it with a second.
Yeah.
And this was all within the past 2 years. And I am not afraid of it anymore.
No.
I don't want to. Like this is certainly not something I wanted to ever do.
Mhm.
But it used to terrify me, and I certainly stayed in planning relationships, a few that I shouldn't have. And now I'm like, this is what my contract says. You are not following my contract and you are abusive and I'm going to fire you or get your act together. I'm in my villain era.
Well, as I've been doing this more, it's easier to tell in the beginning. When you first start, you just want to take everything. And now it's like, okay,
Yeah.
are they asking to meet with me on a Sunday afternoon? Red flag.
Yeah. Red flag. Yes.
Are they emailing me on Friday afternoon and following up with an email on Sunday asking why I haven't responded? Red
Red
flag.
flag. Red flag. Yeah. My favorite red flag is when you're on the consult and they start telling you how a wedding is planned. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not. This is not. We're not going to work out. Okay. So a pro and con of 2 years out, we're going to say pro is potentially better relationships. Con is you have to suffer through if you're not happy with each other.
Yeah.
I would say another pro, let's just say it, longer timeline would be more options. You probably have more date options, more venue options, more vendor options. A con is that you could have too many options, and if you are not a decisive person or know what you want, even with a planner, that can be really difficult.
The other con that kind of mirrors that is you have more time to change your mind. So wedding trends change a bit in 2 years. And so you could think you want one thing at the beginning and then decide after 8, 10, 12 months you want something else. And you essentially have to replan it. Now, I'm not saying you book something and you can't change it. You can. If anybody has planned a wedding, they know that things can be changed throughout the engagement. But it's a lot of work to constantly be redoing stuff.
It's a lot of work. And so I agree with you. One of the things I do tell all of my longer planning clients is we're not doing decor until we're within the year of your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I've learned that the hard way. We're not redoing a decor plan because it's been 2 years and you're bored with what we're doing.
Well, yeah, you can't stop scrolling on Pinterest or Instagram or whatever. It's like, just stop.
Right. The other thing too, and I've had this happen once, is I don't let my brides get their dress any earlier than a year out either, because I have run into that where somebody didn't like their dress anymore because they had it in their closet, for a year and wanted something different. And so a month out from the wedding, we're scrambling to get her something off the rack.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's funny because I'm like, that's what we're here for, also, which sucks, but like it's stress on you, the client too, when you want to change your mind, because sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. So what are some other pros and cons for like these longer planning timelines?
I have one other question for you.
Okay, wait. Let me tell you my con real quick.
Yeah.
You're going to have have at every family function for the next 2 years, if you are planning a wedding for 2 years, that is all you're going to talk about. To me, that's a con.
I agree, because it also leads to people not knowing what their life is like beyond planning your freaking wedding.
Right.
Because that's all people ask you about. That's all you talk about. And all of a sudden it's over and you're like, oh, I have like a real life now. And I am going to talk to people about other stuff besides this wedding.
Yes.
So I agree.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Okay, yeah, please hit me.
When you have your couples do decor or wedding dress shopping and they've selected something, do you tell them that they need to stop looking online for other different, like, I feel like it's such a problem now with so many images and different things available that it just leads people to so much stress second guessing what they've chosen because they can't stop looking at other people's stuff online.
I feel like I have that's a great question. I would say no, not that. You know what I run into a lot is people going to weddings and coming back. So it's not like they're scrolling to find new ideas. They're like, oh, I was just at this wedding.
Yeah.
And some of it is good stuff. It's like, it's good to know what you don't like. Oh, we want to make sure this doesn't happen.
Right.
But other times I'm like, yeah, that was really cool for their event, but like, we're not doing it for yours.
Yes. Weddings are hard because there's so much cool stuff that you can do, but just because something is cool, it doesn't mean it's going to work in your venue. It doesn't mean it's going to fit within your vibe. It doesn't mean that it's going to fit within your budget.
Right.
So when you are comparing your wedding to other people's, that's a really hard thing to do.
Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. So just like stop doing that.
Okay, we've kind of gotten off track.
Well, okay. So then let's get us back on track. Short planning timelines.
Yes.
Pros and cons. Let's summarize
Okay.
them. Pro.
Okay.
Megan and I get all your money very quickly, and then you leave our lives very quickly. Just kidding. No, none of you leave my life.
That was the most honest answer I've ever heard you say.
Yeah. And then I'm like, but nobody leaves my life, and that's fine. No, honestly, it is a pro, and I'm not even going to be ashamed to say it. We do a lot of work, and a lot of it is spread over a long timeline. And sometimes it is just nice to be like, here's the money. We're going to do our job quickly, efficiently, wonderfully. And then bye. You're married. See you later.
I agree. And I think that is something that's unique to wedding planners, because there are so many other wedding vendors that you book, you pay your deposit, and then you don't work with them again. They don't need to hear from you until a month before the wedding. You've had one meeting and then you leave their lives. So this isn't, not that this is a problem, but this isn't really something that is the same for, say, a photographer or even sometimes a caterer, right? You might do the tasting in between, but you're not constantly communicating with them. Planners, it's like we're talking to our clients a lot. And so it is different.
It does hit different.
Yeah.
So that's a pro.
Yeah.
I think another pro is just it's efficient. We get things done. I think the people with the shorter timelines, the clients that come in and are like, we want to do this quickly, I think they do trust us. At least that's been my experience. They know hiring somebody who knows what they're doing. They're busy, they want to get married, and we can make decisions pretty quickly. So that's been a pro for me, at least.
Well, they have to trust us. They have no other choice because they don't have a lot of time.
Exactly.
That's a lot of it
Exactly.
too, is that a lot of things for weddings, decisions, you go in and you might hire a vendor. And I say this all the time with floral or food. Okay, we're hiring them and we're putting this proposal together. But if you decide later that you want to change something, you have all this time. You can make a change.
Yep.
When you're doing a wedding in 6 months, you are foregoing that luxury. You're just making decisions and there's no time to make big changes. It's done.
Sure.
Which I think is a pro because you can spin your wheels forever unnecessarily.
I do too. I think some cons for sure are limited. We talked about this again, like we're summarizing limited options.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to get married on a Friday. You might not get your first choice. If you are following that photographer online, you might not get them, but like that's just kind of par for the course. It's like you're making this decision, you're prioritizing getting married sooner over waiting longer. So, that's kind of one of the things you have to be prepared for. What else?
I was just going to ask your opinion about guests. Do you think that you have a lower guest count if you have a shorter planning timeline because people are not made aware of your wedding date quite so early?
I would say my gut reaction is to say yes. But I would still, I think it's pretty fascinating. Sorry, kind of off, but on topic. The 20% attrition drop off is pretty spot on almost every wedding I do. It's wild. But yeah, I do think that especially if you're planning this wedding in 4 or 5 months and it's in September or July, when people are busy, yeah, you might look at a higher attrition rate of that drop off attrition, but I don't think it's enough to say ooh, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's what my gut from my experience is saying.
So that 20% attrition, I think is accurate too. I think it might even be a little bit higher in the summer. A lot of my weddings, I feel like maybe it could be up towards 25%. Especially in Wisconsin, where we plan so much stuff in the summer. Everybody feels like they have to pack so much stuff in. But it's also true that everybody thinks that everybody's coming to their wedding. And every time I have to tell them politely, you can expect probably 20% won't come. And they look at me like I am the most horrible person in the whole entire world because how dare I say that people wouldn't want to come to their wedding? I'm not trying to be mean. It's just more of a reality of what we tend to see.
Yeah. Well, I tend to wrap that news in a nice little package of gooey comfort. And I say, your cousin's second cousin might be also getting married on it's not about you, I try to make them think, but in my head, I'm like, they don't like you. I'm just kidding. I do not think that at all.
This is what happens when it's just the two of us.
When it's just the two of us and we're exhausted and it's July, this is how we sound. Okay. No, in all honesty, I have to tell you within the last couple of weeks, yesterday I had client meetings all day. I started at 9 and I ended at 8 p.m. But I had the best day. My clients, I just want to shout out right now to all my current clients because they're just so great. I'm so happy right now. But yeah, I'm just tired, so I'm grumpy.
All two of them?
Well, there's 4. Okay, there's 4 couples in the mix.
No, I like my clients right now too. And the struggle right now is trying to keep that to people that I like, which
totally
is vetting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just vetting. Because I don't want to wreck this aura I have right now.
I don't either. I think we're very lucky right now. I think, vetting is super important. We're lucky that we are in the position where we can do that. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it is just about, wait, now we're getting off topic. Nobody cares about this.
Yeah. Nobody cares about this. Okay. Nobody cares about our mental health.
Nobody cares about our mental health or that we love our clients right now. I just want to say that whenever you get engaged and want to get married, we can help you. It doesn't matter. If you want to get married, in 2 months or 2 years, We know how to do it. We will guide you through the process. Like to Megan's point earlier, there may be a lot of downtime where you're not doing anything. Wedding planning tends to be pretty heavy on the front end and then on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
And so that like middle part, there's not a whole lot going on. And so that middle part is either, 2 weeks or 10 months, depending on your planning timeline. So just trust your planners, know how the process works. We got you no matter what, If you want to do a little bit like a 1-year planning East Coast style wedding, call Megan. And if you want to get married in 2 months in a bathhouse, call me.
If you are thinking of doing a shorter engagement, it can be really fun. It can be really exciting, but you have to know yourself and you have to know that you are going to trust your vendors and you have to know that you are able to make decisions.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, that's how it should be no matter what, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, ideally, but that's not how the wedding industry or, everything has made these brides and grooms and parents think that wedding planning is supposed to be.
Yeah, it will be good. Yeah, trust your vendors. The Dennis Rodman event pictures came in, by the way.
Oh, nice.
It's just now. Yes, I'm going to share them with you. They're pretty good.
There's
one of me being Dennis's emotional support animal. So I'll share that one on Instagram.
Yes, share the pictures of Dennis. That's what everybody really wants to see anyway.
I know. I can't wait.
I loved his amazing yellow sweatpants.
I know. I'm like, my goal is to be just like famous enough to get paid a bunch of money to wear yellow sweatpants. So anyway, we're good here. Let's talk, right? We got period, end of sentence. Let's talk about what's coming up.
Yeah. I think we kind of spun around a little bit, but I think it's good advice. Yes.
I think we spun around a little bit, but it was nice at the edge. I'm glad it was just the two of us to spin around. It's kind of our thing.
Yeah.
So coming up on our podcasts, we have some fun stuff in the pipeline. So we have our dream interpreter. We've had people sending in wedding dreams they've been having. So we're going to get those. What are they called?
Analyzed.
Yes, there you go. We have one of my friends up here, Katie from Bowery and Bash, who's going to be on soon. So we have some fun things coming up. And
we haven't done a travel episode in a long time. We've kind of leaned into the weddings because it's wedding season. But I'm going down to Turks and Caicos again. So I'm sure we'll probably have some stories for that.
Good. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to go get my hair done now.
I'm getting my hair done today too.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go get our hair done and we'll talk to y'all later.
All right. Bye, Jen.
All right. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us again this week. If you have a wedding or travel related story of your own that you would like us to share in a future episode, send us an email to theplannerspassport@gmail.com.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Planner's Passport and follow all of our travel and wedding businesses, including We Roam Solo, Dare to Dream Travel, and Dare to Dream Weddings. And please, if you enjoy our show, remember to rate, review, and subscribe from wherever you are listening to this podcast.